The space station called Harmony floated silently between two glowing stars. It was a peaceful place where ships from many planets came to trade, meet, and learn. Different species walked its halls, some tall, some short, some with fur, others with scales. But they all followed the same rule: respect each other. One day, a silver ship from the planet Avon arrived. People on the station gathered to see the visitors. The Avenari were known across the galaxy, but few had ever seen them in person. They were a quiet, elegant race, and they didn't often travel far from their world. From the ship stepped a tall alien woman named Nira. She had smooth blue skin, bright golden eyes, and long silver hair that moved softly behind her. Her clothes shimmered like water, and every step she took was graceful. But as she walked through the main hall, something strange began to happen. People turned away. Some covered their faces. Others quietly walked in the opposite direction. A soft scent followed near one that most other species found difficult to handle. It wasn't dangerous, just unfamiliar. It made them dizzy or uncomfortable. And so, little by little, everyone began to avoid her. Nira noticed. She wasn't surprised. It had happened before on other stations, on other worlds her kind used scent to show emotions. But most species weren't used to that. Her scent, soft and full of meaning to her own people, was too much for others. So once again, she found herself walking alone. She tried to speak to a few station workers, offering a polite greeting, but each one gave a nervous smile, then left quickly. Some said they were busy. Others didn't say anything at all. After a while, she stopped trying. Far across the hall, a human technician named Tom watched the scene. He was repairing a wall panel near the garden dome entrance. He had seen many visitors before, but something about Nira was different. Not just her look, but the way she moved, quiet and calm, like she carried something heavy inside. He noticed how people reacted to her, how they whispered and left the room when she entered. Tom didn't understand why. He smelled something in the air, soft and strange, but not unpleasant. It reminded him of fresh leaves after rain on Earth. It was gentle, not strong, and for some reason, it made him curious. Later that day, Tom went to the garden dome for his break. It was one of his favorite places on the station. The dome was full of plants from different planets, and a clear glass ceiling showed the stars. Above, he brought a small lunch with him and sat under a tree from Earth. To his surprise, Nira was already there, sitting on a bench near a group of glowing flowers. She looked peaceful, but also a little sad. No one else was around. Tom thought for a moment, then stood up and slowly walked toward her. He didn't want to scare her or make her feel worse. "Mind if I sit here?" he asked kindly, pointing to the other end of the bench. Nira looked at him. Her eyes were soft and golden, like warm light. She nodded once. "You may," she said in a gentle voice. Tom sat down, leaving a little space between them. For a moment, they didn't speak. The sound of water trickling from a nearby fountain filled the silence. "I like this place," Tom said after a while. "Feels quiet, real." Nira nodded. "It reminds me of home. The gardens in the city of Lyra. They were full of scent and sound." Tom looked at her, then smiled. "Your scent, it's different, but not bad. Most people here don't understand things that are new to them." Nira turned her head toward him. "You don't feel dizzy, no?" Tom said honestly. "It reminds me of after the rain, when the air smells clean and full of life." Nira looked down, and for a moment, something changed in the air. The scent became lighter, softer, almost like joy. "You're the first to say that," she whispered. Tom reached into his bag and took out a small earth flower. It was a simple thing, white with 5 petals. He offered it to her. "From my home. It grows wild in the mountains." Nira took the flower gently. She brought it close to her face and inhaled. Her golden eyes softened. "Thank you," she said. They sat in silence again. But this time, it felt peaceful, not awkward. The stars above shone down on them, and the flowers swayed gently in the dome's breeze. For the first time since her arrival, Nira didn't feel alone. Tom didn't know much about Avenari culture or what her scent truly meant, but he knew what it felt like to be pushed aside, to be misunderstood. And he believed that sometimes the most beautiful things were simply those that others didn't take the time to understand. As the garden lights dimmed and the dome prepared for night's cycle, Tom stood up. "I'll be here tomorrow," he said, with a smile. Same time, Nira looked at him and nodded. Her voice was quiet, but full of meaning. "So will I," and with that, something small but powerful began to grow, an unexpected connection, born from quiet moments and open hearts. The next day, just before the evening break, Tom walked back into the garden dome. His steps were calm, and in his hand, he held a small packet of seeds from Earth. He wasn't sure if Nira would return, but something inside him hoped she would. The garden dome was quiet as usual. Stars shone brightly through the glass ceiling. The soft glow of alien plants made the space look peaceful, almost magical. As Tom reached the same bench near the glowing flowers, he saw her. Nira was already there, sitting gracefully, her silver hair catching the soft lights around her. When she saw Tom, her expression changed. A small smile appeared, and the air around her grew gentle again. "You came," she said softly. Tom smiled. "So did you?" He sat beside her, just like yesterday, keeping a bit of space between them. He opened the seed packet and showed it to her. "These are mountain herbs," he said. "They grow fast and smell nice when they bloom. I thought they might be a good addition to the garden." Nira looked at the seeds with interest. "Do they grow in rocky places?" "Yes," Tom said. "Back home, they grow between stones, where no other plant can live. But when they bloom, they change the whole place. Makes the air feel fresh and alive." Nira nodded slowly. "They sound strong and patient." Tom gently poured a few seeds into her palm. She held them carefully, like they were something precious. The moment felt calm. With no need to rush, they sat quietly again. The silence wasn't empty. It was full of understanding. Nira watched the stars through the glass dome while Tom leaned back, resting his hands on the bench. "People don't like my scent," Nira said after a while, her voice low. "It speaks a language most do not know. On my planet, we all understand each other through it. Emotions, thoughts, even memories, they are carried through the air." Tom listened without interrupting. He looked at her gently. "Do different emotions have different smells?" She nodded. "Yes, sadness is like heavy wind before a storm. Joy is light and sweet. Fear is sharp. Peace is soft and slow. Our scent changes with our feelings. We learn it from childhood." "That's beautiful," Tom said. "I think if people gave it a chance, they'd see it's not something to fear. It's just new to them." Nira gave a soft look. "New things often cause silence, and silence becomes distance." Tom understood that. He had lived a quiet life. People often talked, but few really listened. He liked machines because they didn't pretend. They simply worked or didn't. But with Nira, there was something different, something real. "Back when I first came to this station," Tom said, "I didn't know anyone. I used to come here to feel less alone. Watching plants grow made me feel like time was moving forward even when everything else felt stuck." Nira looked at him, and the air changed again. It felt warmer, more open. "We have a saying on Avener," she said, "even the smallest tree waits for the right light." Tom liked that. He thought about it for a moment, then smiled. "Maybe we're both small trees, waiting for the same light." Nira let out a soft breath, and for a moment, Tom caught a new note in her scent, something fresh and sweet. He didn't know what it meant exactly, but it felt like comfort. As time passed, other visitors entered the dome. Most stayed far from the bench, some gave quick glances, but no one came close. Tom noticed, but he didn't let it bother him. Nira noticed too, but she kept her posture calm. "I think they're still afraid," Tom said quietly. Nira nodded. "Not of me, but of what they don't understand." He looked at her. "Would you ever teach them? Show them what your scent means?" Her eyes showed a mix of hope and caution. "Only if someone is willing to learn. I cannot force understanding." Tom leaned forward and picked up a small piece of fallen bark from the ground. "Well," he said, "I'd like to learn." Nira looked surprised for a moment, then peaceful. Then I will teach you. They spent the rest of the hour talking about her world. She told him about the gardens of Lyra, where young Avenari learned to control their scent through meditation. She spoke about scent ceremonies where memories were shared in the air like music, and about the quiet hills where wind carried emotion. From one village to another. Tom listened carefully, asking simple questions. He was not a scientist or diplomat, but he had patience and curiosity, and Nira could feel it. His presence didn't push or pull, it just allowed her to be. As they stood to leave, Tom turned to her. I'll bring a pot tomorrow, he said. We can plant the seeds together. Nira's voice was soft. I would like that. They walked side by side out of the dome, past the quiet halls. Other crew members stepped aside, unsure, curious, and perhaps confused, but Tom didn't look away, and Nira walked a little taller. The next day would come with new steps, new moments, but for now, in the quiet glow of the stars, something gentle had begun to grow, something patient, like the mountain herbs, and something rare understanding. The next morning, the garden dome was calm as always. The stars still shone through the glass, and the plants gently swayed under the soft artificial breeze. Tom arrived with a small clay pot, soil, and a tiny watering tool. He walked with quiet steps and a hopeful heart. He found Nira sitting under the same tree. She wore a long blue robe with soft patterns, and her silver hair glowed under the garden lights. She turned when she heard his footsteps and gave a small smile. You brought the pot, she said gently. Tom nodded. I said I would. He sat beside her and placed the items on the bench. Together, they filled the pot with soil and planted the mountain herb seeds. They had talked about the day before. Nira watched closely as Tom pressed the soil with care. These seeds are small, she said, but they carry strength inside. Tom smiled, just like people. For a moment, they both sat silently, watching the pot. Then Nira leaned back, letting her eyes follow the stars above. Her scent in the air was soft and steady. It carried a calm feeling, one Tom had started to understand. Over the next few days, this new routine became something they both looked forward to every evening. They met in the garden dome. Sometimes they planted more herbs or just walked among the flowers. Other times, they simply sat and talked. Tom was not like others Nira had met. He didn't ask too many questions too quickly. He listened. He didn't try to change her or hide his confusion. If he didn't understand something, he would say so in a kind way. One evening, Nira told him more about her home planet. She spoke of the sky, which changed colors 4 times a day. She told him about the rivers that glowed in the dark and the music her people played by scent. Tom was amazed. Music through scent. He asked with curiosity. Nira nodded. Yes, we don't use instruments. We blend scents with emotion, and it creates patterns in the air. Others can feel the music, not with ears, but with heart and memory. Tom looked surprised. I've never heard of something like that. Most species have different ways of feeling the world, she said. Yours is through sound. Ours is through air. Tom thought for a moment. I wonder what a happy song would smell like. Nira gave a small laugh, soft like wind passing through trees. The scent around her became sweeter, lighter. Tom noticed. Is that it? He asked. She nodded. That is what joy smells like to my people. Tom closed his eyes for a second, letting the scent settle in. It was fresh and comforting. It feels peaceful. Nira looked at him with calm eyes. You are the first non-Avenari to say that. He gave a simple reply. Maybe I just have a different heart. Their talks grew deeper each day. Nira spoke of her challenges, how the Avenari were once space travelers, but had slowly withdrawn from the galaxy. Their scent had made others uncomfortable, so they stopped visiting. Some even believed they were dangerous, though they never harmed anyone. We started to hide, Nira said one evening, not out of fear, but out of tiredness. It is hard to be unwanted in every room. You enter. Tom didn't speak for a few seconds. Then he said, That's not fair. Nira's golden eyes softened. It is not about fair. It is about understanding. And that takes time. Tom looked around the empty dome. Maybe understanding starts with one person. The next day, a few workers on the station began to whisper. They noticed how often Tom and Nira met. Some said he was strange, others said he was brave. A few said nothing, but watched from a distance. One crew member, a woman named Mira, approached Tom in the repair bay. She was friendly but careful. "Are you really spending time with her?" Mira asked. Tom wiped his hands on a cloth and nodded. "Yes, she's kind and smart. Her scent doesn't bother me." Mira looked unsure. "Some people say it's too much," Tom replied with a calm voice. Maybe they just never stop long enough to listen. Back in the garden dome, Tom shared this with Nira. She listened with a quiet expression. "They are afraid of what they do not feel," she said. "Maybe," Tom replied, "but fear can become respect if someone shows them the way." Nira looked at him. "And do you think you can do that?" Tom smiled. "I'm not special, but I can keep sitting beside you. Maybe others will see that nothing bad happens when we talk." Nira gave a soft smile. The scent around her became warm and light. That evening, as they stood together beside the small herb pot they had planted, Tom noticed the first green sprout pushing through the soil. It was tiny, barely the size of a pebble, but it was alive. "Look," he said, pointing. "It's growing." Nira leaned closer and touched the soil gently. Her voice was filled with quiet joy. "It begins." Tom nodded. "Just like us," and as the stars shone above, the two stood in silence, knowing that sometimes the smallest things could bring the biggest change. The small green plant on the bench grew stronger with each passing day. Its tiny leaves stretched toward the dome's light. Tom and Nira watered it gently, took care of it, and watched it grow together. It had become a quiet symbol of their bond that had slowly started to bloom like the plant itself. But while the plant grew quietly, whispers started to rise in the corners of Harmony Station. Some workers noticed Tom's daily visits to the garden dome. Others saw Nira's calm presence and wondered why the human wasn't affected like the rest. A few started to feel curious, but not everyone saw the friendship in a good light. Inside the control room of the central deck, a senior officer named Darnell sat with a data pad in hand. He had served on Harmony Station for years and followed the rules strictly. He believed in peace, order, and keeping things safe. And now, Nira's presence was becoming a topic of quiet concern. "She's not doing anything wrong," said Mira, standing beside Darnell. "She just talks to the technician. That's all." Darnell didn't look up. "Her scent affects people. It creates discomfort. I've received 3 quiet complaints this week." Mira sighed. "Then tell those people to give her space. She's always in the garden dome. She never walks around the busy areas." Darnell finally looked at her. "We allowed the Ave Nari as a sign of peace, not as a permanent guest. If one of our own workers becomes too attached, that's a risk. We must be careful." Later that evening, Tom walked into the garden dome like usual. He carried a small notebook with him, filled with questions he wanted to ask Nira about her world. He found her standing near the herb pot, gently touching the soft leaves. "They're growing fast," he said with a smile. Nira turned and smiled back. "They like your care." Tom sat down on the bench and opened his notebook. "I wanted to ask you something today, if that's okay." She nodded. "Ask, how do Avenari learn to shape their scent? Like you said before, it changes with emotions, but can you choose how it changes?" Nira thought for a moment. "At a young age, we learn breathing patterns. We also learn scent memory. That means we remember emotions linked with a scent and call them back through feeling. It is not perfect, but it allows us to speak softly through air." Tom wrote this down in simple words. "I've never heard anything like this before." He looked up, but before Nira could respond, a voice echoed from the garden entrance, "Tom." He turned and saw Officer Darnell standing there with his arms crossed. His face was calm, but serious. "Can I speak with you outside?" Darnell asked. Tom stood, a little confused. "Sure." He followed the officer outside into the hallway. The door closed behind them with a quiet sound. Darnell looked at him with a straight expression. "You've been spending a lot of time with the alien guest." "Yes," Tom replied. Her name's Nira. Darnell gave a short nod. You know her scent is unusual for most. It causes discomfort among the crew. We've received reports. Tom kept his voice steady. She's not hurting anyone. She stays in the dome, away from the busy areas. That may be true now, Darnell said. But people are talking. They're confused. Some are worried. They think your friendship with her may affect your work or judgment. Tom frowned. My work is fine. I don't see how being kind to someone can be a problem. Darnell crossed his arms. This station runs on balance, Tom. If people feel unsafe even without danger, we lose that balance. Tom looked straight at him. Then maybe people should learn to stop fearing what they don't understand. There was a short silence. Darnell finally said, I'm not here to punish you. Just be careful. And remember, you're not just representing yourself. You're representing humanity too. Tom nodded slowly. Understood. After Darnell left, Tom stood alone in the hallway for a few seconds. He wasn't angry. He wasn't scared. But something inside him felt heavy. He turned and walked back into the garden dome. Nira was still near the flowers. She looked at him quietly, her golden eyes full of patience. What did he say? She asked softly. Tom sat down beside her. He asked me to be careful. Said some people are uncomfortable. Nira didn't look surprised. It always begins like this. Tom shook his head. You didn't do anything wrong. She looked at him, calm as ever. Sometimes being different is enough. He looked down at the plant. It had grown a little more since yesterday. Do you want to leave? He asked. If you're feeling unwanted, Nira paused. A part of me always expects it, but I don't want to leave. Tom looked at her again. Then stay. I'm not going anywhere either. Her scent shifted slightly. It carried warmth, like the feeling of sitting beside a fire on a cold night. They stayed in the dome a little longer than usual that evening. The stars above seemed to shine more clearly, and the plant swayed slowly in the breeze. The seed of friendship they had planted was growing roots quietly, but deeply. The next day might bring more questions, maybe more whispers. But for now, in that quiet space among the stars, two souls from different worlds had found something rare. Understanding. Nira sat alone in the garden dome the next morning. The small herb plant in front of her had grown taller, its green leaves open and full of life. She reached out and touched the edge of a leaf gently, her fingers calm but her heart a little heavy. She had made her decision. Tom had been kind. He had listened, stayed, and treated her like a person, not a problem. But she could feel the tension growing outside the garden, the quiet looks, the whispers, the warnings. She didn't want to be the reason for trouble. So she had asked her ship's captain to prepare for early departure. No one had forced her. No angry words had been said. But the air around her had become tight, like a room without windows. She didn't want to make things harder for Tom. As she sat beside the plant, the door opened. Tom walked in, holding a small metal box in his hands. He smiled when he saw her, but stopped when he noticed her quiet expression. What's wrong? He asked as he walked over. Nira looked at him softly. I'm leaving tomorrow. Tom stood still for a moment. Why? Nira didn't answer right away. Her golden eyes looked toward the stars above the glass dome. I don't want you to face problems because of me, she said. This station is your home. I'm only a guest. Tom sat down beside her on the bench. He placed the small metal box between them and kept his voice steady. This place is my job, he said. But you became something more. Nira looked at him, surprised by his words. Tom opened the metal box. Inside was a tiny light device. When he pressed the side, a soft glowing image appeared in the air, a small copy of the garden dome, with the little green plant in the center. It's a memory holder, Tom said. So you can take this place with you. Nira watched the glowing image quietly. The scent around her changed, carrying a deep feeling, something like gratitude and sadness together. I didn't expect this, she whispered. I didn't expect you either, Tom said. But I'm glad you came. They sat silently for a while. The only sound was the soft hum of the air system and the gentle rustle of leaves. Suddenly, a quiet alarm echoed through the station. It was not loud or dangerous, Just a soft tone that meant a docking problem. Tom stood up quickly. That's from your docking bay. Nira followed him. What does it mean? Could be a lock error. Tom said, I'll check, together. They walked to docking bay 3, where Nira's ship waited. A small group of station staff stood near the ship. A red light blinked near the control panel. Tom walked over and opened the system screen. After a few moments, he frowned. The auto lock failed. The ship can't detach from the station. One of the officers nearby sighed. We've seen this before. It's not dangerous, but it needs a manual reset. How long will it take? Nira asked. Tom looked at her. If I fix it, maybe an hour. Maybe 2. Nira gave a small nod. Then I'll wait. They returned to the garden dome to wait. Nira sat on the bench, her thoughts quiet. Tom worked in the repair bay nearby, gathering the tools he needed. After a while, Tom returned. He sat beside her again. I can fix the lock, he said, but I need to ask something first. Nira turned toward him. Do you really want to leave? Tom asked, or are you just trying to protect me? Nira didn't answer at once. She looked at the stars again. I have always lived between leaving and staying, she said. My scent makes me a stranger everywhere I go. But with you, I felt something different, something peaceful. Tom nodded. Then stay. You don't have to go because others feel unsure. You belong here too. Nira looked at him with quiet surprise. But what if more people complain? She asked. Let them, Tom said. Maybe one day, they'll understand. But I already do. Her golden eyes softened. The air around them filled with a scent Tom now recognized it was hope. I brought you something too, she said after a while. She reached into her satchel and pulled out a small smooth stone. It was blue with white lines, shaped like a raindrop. This is from the river of light on my planet, she explained. It's a gift we give to someone who has changed our path. Tom took the stone gently and held it in his hand. It was cool, smooth, and carried a soft scent that reminded him of new beginnings. Thank you, he said. I'll keep it always. The station lights dimmed slightly as night cycle approached. Outside the dome, the stars grew brighter. Inside, two souls from different worlds sat side by side, not as human and alien, but as true friends. Tom stood after a while. I'll go fix the docking lock now. Nira gave a small smile. Take your time. He walked out, tools in hand, heart full of quiet strength. He didn't know what the next day would bring, but he knew one thing for sure. This goodbye wasn't going to happen. Not yet. A few weeks later, the large transport ship from Earth arrived at Harmony Station. Its silver wings stretched wide, and its engines hummed like a quiet song. The docking process was smooth, and the station's lights shone brighter than usual. A small ceremony had been planned. It was not official or grand, but it was filled with meaning. Inside the garden dome, Nira stood in front of the little herb plant she had cared for with Tom. It now had 3 white flowers, each one open and shining. The scent in the dome was soft, full of life and peace. She gently touched the petals and smiled. Tom entered quietly, as he often did. He carried a small travel bag and a folded flag of Earth. In his hand, he smiled when he saw her. You're ready? He asked. Nira turned to face him. Her long silver hair fell gently over her shoulders. Yes, she said, and no, but that is the way with all new beginnings. Tom walked closer and handed her the flag. This is for your journey. It's a symbol. Wherever you go, someone will remember you came in peace. Nira held the flag with care. I will keep it close. Outside the garden, a small group of station workers had gathered. Some of them had avoided her in the past, but now they stood together quietly, not in fear, but in respect. Mira, the crew member who had once defended her, stepped forward with a small glass box. Inside it was a preserved flower from Nira's plant. For Earth, Mira said, offering it with both hands, so others may know your scent, not with fear, but with curiosity. Nira accepted the gift gently. The scent in the air shifted again, light and calm, like a breeze through spring leaves. It was the scent of gratitude. They walked together to the docking bay. The door of the Earth ship opened slowly, and Ambassador Leon stepped out, her face kind and welcoming. "Are you ready for the next part of your story?" she asked Nira. Nira nodded. "I am." Before stepping into the ship, Nira turned to Tom. One last time, she reached into her travel robe and pulled out a small seed wrapped in soft cloth. "This is from my world," she said. "It grows slowly, but it lives for hundreds of years." Tom took the seed, holding it in his palm. "I'll plant it in the garden. It will remind me of you. And when it blooms," Nira said, "its scent will carry our memory." He smiled. "Safe journey, Nira." She gave him a gentle look. "You were my first real connection here. I will never forget." With that, Nira stepped into the ship, and the doors closed behind her. The engines hummed, and the ship lifted slowly from the docking bay, moving toward the stars. Back in the garden dome, Tom sat alone beside the herb plant. He looked at the small seed she had given him, then gently placed it into the soil near. The others, he covered it with care and watered it softly. The dome was quiet, but it didn't feel empty. The scent in the air still carried warmth and calm. It was as if a part of Nira had stayed behind. Days passed, then weeks, and finally a message came from Earth. Nira had arrived safely. She had spoken to human leaders, teachers, and students. People were surprised at first, but her gentle nature and calm scent made them listen. She taught them about Avenari ways how scent could carry emotion, how silence could be meaningful, and how true understanding came slowly. People began to write stories about her. Paintings were made. A small garden in the human city of Lion was built in her name. Filled with white flowers and soft scents from her world, children played there, and visitors came to learn. Back on Harmony Station, the seed Tom planted began to grow, first a small green stem, then to soft leaves. It took longer than the other herbs, but it was strong and steady. Every day, Tom visited it. He spoke to it quietly, telling it about life on the station, about new repairs, and about how things were changing. One day, as he walked into the dome, he saw a small group of visitors standing near the plant. One of them leaned closer. "It smells like rain," the person said. Tom smiled. "That means it's learning." The visitor turned to him. "Did you grow this?" "I just gave it a home," he said. The gift was from someone else. That evening, Tom sat by the plant as the stars appeared above the glass dome. He thought of Nira, of her calm voice, her gentle steps, and the way her scent changed with each emotion. He wondered what new places she was visiting now, what people she was meeting, what lessons she was sharing. He looked at the white flowers beside him. They had bloomed fully now, soft and bright under the light, and in that quiet space, he whispered, "You said understanding takes time. I think it's starting to happen." Above him, the stars continued to shine. Round him, the plant swayed gently in the wind, and in his heart, there was no sadness, only peace, because what began as silence had become something lasting. Not a goodbye, but a beginning, a sense of hope. The next morning, Harmony Station woke up to soft lights and the gentle sound of the central clock tone. Everything felt normal on the surface, but something new was about to happen. News of the docking error had spread through the station overnight. People whispered in the halls again. Some said Nira was still here because her ship was broken. Others wondered if she stayed because of the human dot in the garden dome. Nira watered the herb plant as she always did. Its leaves had grown wider, and small white buds had started to appear. She touched one of the buds with care, smiling gently. Her scent was calm, with a quiet joy in the air. Tom arrived soon after. He had fixed the docking lock late the night before, but he had not told Nira. He didn't want her to leave just because the path was open again. He wanted her to stay because she wanted to. "You're here early," he said as he sat beside her. Nira looked at him and nodded. "I slept lightly. My thoughts were full." Tom handed her a warm drink. "This helps with thinking." She took the cup, smiled, and took a small sip. It had a soft cinnamon taste, something he brought from Earth's supplies. They sat in silence. For a while, the herb plant stood between them, full of life. Its scent was beginning to mix with Nira's own, and Tom found it comforting. Then a message came through the station's speaker system. "All staff, Please report to the Central Hall. A human ambassador has arrived. Tom looked at Nira. She raised an eyebrow gently. An ambassador? Yes, Tom said slowly. We don't get many of those here. They both stood and made their way to the Central Hall. It was a wide, open space with high windows and a large round table in the center. Representatives from different species sat around it. Crew members stood along the walls. At the far end, a human woman in a deep green uniform stepped forward. She was tall, with short dark hair and kind eyes. Her name was Ambassador Leon. Good morning, she said clearly. I've come on behalf of the Earth Council. We've heard of the presence of an Avinari guest on this station, and we wish to learn more. Eyes turned to Nira. She stood calmly, not moving back. Her hands were folded in front of her, and her expression was peaceful. I'm Nira of Avinar, she said, and I thank you for your welcome. Ambassador Leon smiled. You have made quite an impression here. Some have spoken of discomfort, but one human spoke of curiosity, understanding, and peace. Nira turned her eyes slightly toward Tom. He stood nearby, silent but strong. Leon continued. Humanity has long been known for its ability to adapt. We listen, we learn. And when we don't understand something, we ask questions. Sometimes, what others avoid becomes something we treasure. There was a pause. The room was quiet. The ambassador then looked directly at Nira. I would like to invite you to Earth. Not as a guest, but as the first Avinari cultural ambassador. We believe your presence can help others understand your people, and perhaps it can help your people understand us too. A soft murmur moved through the hall. Nira stood still. Her scent in the air changed slowly. It became deep and thoughtful. I did not expect this, she said. Many have turned away before. Leon nodded, but one didn't. She looked again toward Tom, who stepped forward at last. I didn't understand her at first, Tom said quietly, but I gave myself time, and I found something honest, something worth knowing. The room listened closely. There's beauty in her presence, Tom continued, not just in her scent, but in her way of seeing the world. I think we all have something to learn from her. Leon gave a small nod. And that is the message I will send back to Earth. Later, Nira and Tom returned to the garden dome. The sun cycle had reached its peak. Light poured through the glass, warming the soil and making the plants glow. Nira sat on the bench slowly, her thoughts still spinning. Tom sat beside her, watching her quietly. You don't have to say yes, he said gently. Nira looked at him. It's not about yes or no. It's about what it means. She reached out and touched the herb plant again. One of the buds had started to open. A small white flower peeked out, simple and perfect. My people stayed away for so long, she said. We believed no one wanted to understand us. Tom nodded. Maybe that was true once. But things can change. She looked at him, her golden eyes full of thought. If I go to Earth, it will not be easy. There will be questions, doubt, maybe even fear. But there will also be people who listen, Tom said. Like me, she gave a quiet breath. The air around her filled with the scent of hope again. But this time, it was mixed with something new strength. Then I will go, she said at last. Not just for myself, but for those who come after me, Tom smiled. I'll be the first to greet you when you arrive. They both looked at the flower. It was fully open now, white and shining under the sun. A symbol of something new. Nira reached out and gently touched Tom's hand. Thank you, she said softly. You gave me more than kindness. You gave me a reason to stay. And now, a reason to go forward. The stars above the dome began to appear again as evening approached. The dome lights dimmed, and the breeze moved softly through the leaves. A journey was ending, but a greater journey was about to begin.